ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन
Yes.
तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। Dear devotees who are hearing this Ramayana reading from various channels, we thank you very much for joining this Ramayana reading marathon. And today we have the fortune of hearing from Bhaktin Lekha, and she will start from where Advait left off. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's just start with the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm going to start from where Advait left last yesterday. Um, once when
Quick
some
thing, Lekha, in case like if you feel tired or need to take a break or something, please feel free. I hope you have water in front of you.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Once, when some elephants saw hunters approaching with snares in their hands, they recited the following two verses: Fire and weapons we do not fear. The dangerous are the so called near and dear. They are the ones who take special pains to make sure that we are all put in chains. From cows we derive milk. In brahmanas we find austerity. In women we see fickleness, and from relatives we are put into danger. Vibhishana, you are envious of me. That is why you cannot tolerate the honor I receive. If anyone else had spoken as you did, I would have killed him at once. You, O wretched half brother, are a disgrace to our noble family. Enraged by Ravana's rebuke, Vibhishana rose up with club in hand, along with four of his followers, and declared, O king, although you are my superior, I can no longer tolerate your words, for you have chosen to follow the path of irreligion. Flatterers who only utter palatable words are easy to find. However, persons who actually speak for one's benefit, even though the truth may be unpalatable, are very rare. O Ravana, I have only given you advice with the hope of saving you from meeting death at the hands of Rama. You have rejected my advice, however, and are free to do so. Thus, I wish you well, O brother, but I shall no longer remain here with you. Vibhishana and his followers departed, and within 1 hour reached Rama's camp. When the monkeys saw Vibhishana hovering overhead like a peak of Mount Meru illuminated with lightning, Sugriva told Hanuman, Take care, this Rakshasa must have come here to kill us. All the monkeys began picking up rocks and uprooting trees, awaiting Sugriva's instructions. Vibhishana announced, O king of monkeys, I am the youngest half brother of Ravana. As former minister to Ravana, I advised him repeatedly to return Sita to Rama. After being rebuked by Ravana with harsh words, I have left my home, wife, and children to take shelter at the lotus feet of Rama. Please go and tell him of my intentions. Sugriva went to Rama and said, One of the enemy Rakshasas has arrived. Although he says he has deserted Ravana, he cannot be trusted. Indeed, one can never place any trust in a Rakshasa. He must be a spy. If we believe in him, then, when we least expect it, he may do us great injury. I suggest that he be killed immediately. Rama, however, went to the other monkeys, headed by Hanuman, and asked their opinions. The monkeys replied, Dear Lord Rama, you are the knower of everything. Therefore, we can understand that you are inquiring from us just to honor us. Angada then suggested, if the presence of this Rakshasa can give us an advantage, he should be accepted with great caution. However, if he poses too much of a threat, he should be turned away. Saraba advised, we should assign someone to constantly watch over him. If after being thoroughly tested he is found to be our ally, he should be welcomed. Jambavan warned, this Rakshasa should be regarded with great caution and suspicion. Likewise, Mainda advised, he should be thoroughly interrogated before any decision is made. The ever wise Hanuman, gifted in the art of speech, then said, We do not have time to test Vibhishana. In my opinion, he has come here in all sincerity, hoping to take shelter of Lord Rama. He has understood that Ravana is wicked and that Rama is the supreme emblem of purity and righteousness. His peaceful demeanor and considerate speech indicate the honesty of his purpose, for a deceitful person cannot remain so composed. It is not possible for anyone to fully conceal his inner intentions. The facial expression always gives some clue into one's thoughts. I think Vibhishana should be accepted as our ally without reservation. Although Rama was pleased by Hanuman's statement, Sugriva said, since Vibhishana has deserted his half brother at a time of adversity, it should be understood that there is no one he would not betray. Rama then replied, I believe that Vibhishana has genuinely rejected Rama. Such a dissension often occurs in royal families. Let us welcome him as our ally. Still unconvinced, Sugriva meekly protested. He may have been sent by Ravana, therefore, to be safe, we should immediately capture and kill him. If we accept him, he may turn on us at any moment. Rama smiled and said, do you truly think this Rakshasa could hurt me? With the mere tip of my finger, I could kill all the Rakshasas and demons. Please listen as I tell you the following story. Once there was a hunter who caught a pigeon in a snare. Afterward, he took rest under a nearby tree. The wife of the captured pigeon was residing in the tree, and upon seeing that the hunter had come to her house, she offered him ample hospitality. Indeed, since she had nothing else to feed the hunter, the bird offered him her own flesh to fulfill her obligation to receive a guest. Rama continued, O Sugriva, since a mere bird acted in this way, what can be said of a man like myself? There are many places in the scriptures where it is stated that when an enemy arrives with folded hands, he must be protected by all means. The great sage Kandu has commented that it is only out of fear or folly that one would act otherwise, thus incurring sin. Moreover, as a supreme personality of Godhead, it is my eternal principle that if any living being takes shelter of me, even once saying I'm yours, then I award that person freedom from all fear. Even if Ravana were to come here to surrender unto me, I would give him all protection. Sugriva's heart became filled with love upon hearing Rama's sublime statement. With tears in his eyes, he admitted, O Rama, your words and deeds are always just befitting your supreme position. I too feel that Vibhishana is sincere. Therefore, let friendship made with let friendship be made without delay. After being assured of safety, Vibhishana descended to the earth and fell down flat at the lotus feet of Lord Rama. In a mood full of surrender, he explained, I'm the youngest half brother of Ravana, and my name is Vibhishana. Although I instructed the Rakshasa king for his benefit, he rebuked me harshly. Therefore, I have abandoned my home, family, and possessions and left Lanka to engage in your unalloyed devotional service. I now place my life in your hands and beg you to bless me with your costless mercy. While lovingly gazing upon Vibhishana, as if drinking him in with his eyes, Rama requested him to describe the strengths and weaknesses of the enemy. In reply, Vibhishana said, because of receiving benedictions from Lord Brahma, Ravana has become immune to death at the hands of demigods, Gandharvas, Daityas, Danavas, and Nagas. Indeed, he cannot be killed by any creature except human beings whom he considers to be too insignificant. Ravana's younger brother Kumbhakarna is as huge as a great mountain and as powerful as Indra. The commander in chief of the Rakshasas is Prahasta, who once vanquished the Yaksha hero Manibhadra at Mount Kailasha. Likewise, there is Ravana's son Indrajit, who is equal to his father in all respects. He wears impenetrable armor, and after propitiating the god of fire, he is able to make himself invisible on the battlefield. There are millions of other Rakshasas headed by Mahodara, Mahaparshva, and Akampana. All of them are very fierce and can change their forms at will. Rama then said, O Vibhishana, I'm well aware of Ravana's prowess. I give you my word that after killing him and all the other Rakshasa warriors, I shall install you upon the royal throne at Lanka. In turn, Vibhishana assured Rama that he would help him to conquer Lanka. Rama was very satisfied with his devotee. After warmly embracing Vibhishana, he ordered Lakshmana to bring some water from the sea so he could immediately perform the installation ceremony. Upon seeing the extraordinary mercy of Lord Rama upon the Rakshasa, the monkeys became ecstatic and shouted with joy. Hanuman and Sugriva said, we feel confident about combating the Rakshasas, but we are perplexed about how to cross over the unfathomable ocean. Perhaps you can advise us in this matter. Vibhishana replied, I suggest that Rama call upon Varuna, the presiding deity of the ocean. Previously, his forefather, Sagara, excavated Varuna's waters and extended his domain. Because of this past service, the ocean will certainly help Rama accomplish his mission. Sugriva then relayed Vibhishana's idea to Rama and Lakshmana. Rama thought it to be a good idea, but nonetheless replied to Sugriva, I shall do whatever you and Lakshmana decide. Sugriva and Lakshmana readily agreed with Vibhishana. Thereafter, Rama sat upon a kusha mat, his face turned toward the sea. Meanwhile, a spy named Sardula sighted the monkeys and reported to Ravana how the army had set up camp, covering an area of 80 miles in all directions. The perturbed Rakshasa king then ordered his envoy Shuka to approach Sugriva and deliver the following message: I have never done any harm to you, therefore, why are you preparing to attack Lanka? Since the kidnapping of Sita has nothing to do with you, it would be better for you to return to Kishkindia and go on living peacefully there. Taking the form of bird, Shuka flew to Sugriva and began to deliver Ravana's message while in the sky. However, as Shuka was speaking, some monkeys jumped into the air and captured him. Thus, while dragging him to the ground, the monkeys cut off Shuka's wings and savagely beat him. In the great distress, Shuka cried out, O Rama, those who adhere to righteousness never indulge in killing an envoy. Rama intervened, and after being let go, Shuka once more rose into the sky, asking Sugriva if he had any message for Ravana. Sugriva replied, You may tell your master this. O Ravana, you're just like the stool of your dynasty, for you wish to enjoy the wife of another. Therefore, as a consequence, when my army swarms over the sea to Lanka, Rama will kill you and all your relations. Angada then said, This bird does not appear to be an envoy, but a spy who will convey information about our strength to the enemy. Therefore, he should be arrested at once. Taking this as an order, the monkeys again sprang into the air. Capturing Shuka again, they bound him with ropes. Shuka again appealed to Rama, and he mercifully assured him he would be set free once they reached Lanka. Thereafter, Rama solicited Varuna, the presiding deity of the ocean, with folded hands. Rama was determined to reach Lanka by any means and was prepared to kill the ocean god if he refused to cooperate. When 3 days and nights passed without any response from the ocean deity, Rama became greatly irritated. Addressing Lakshmana, he said, I can now practically see that in this material world the good qualities of patience, forgiveness, and politeness are useless when dealing with persons bereft of all virtue. In this material world, such rascals give more respect to persons who are imprudent, aggressive, harsh in speech, and who run about advertising themselves. Because of my mildness and forbearance, the ocean considers me to be important. Thus, he will not deign to come before me. Lakshmana, give me my bow, and I will teach this ocean a lesson. Watch as I drive the water. Then the monkeys can march to Lanka on foot without difficulty. His anger blazing like fire, Rama strung his mighty bow and twanged it powerfully, causing the entire earth to tremble. Rama shot his arrow deep into the water, agitating the entire ocean, causing high tossing waves and terrifying the entities living within, including the Nagas and Rakshasas. Thus, as he invoked his supremely powerful Brahmastra, Lakshmana put his head on Rama's bow and said, My dear brother, please restrain your anger and do not release any more arrows. Surely there must be a more noble means for drying up the ocean and facilitating the monkeys to cross over Lanka. Even the great Brahmarishis, from their vantage point in the sky, were terrified to see Rama's uncommon exhibition of anger. Ignoring Lakshmana's plea, Rama picked up the Brahmastra arrow and threatened the ocean. I will now dry up all your waters so all that remains is a desert of sand. O God of sea, since you're too proud to render service unto me, I shall utilize my own prowess so that the monkeys can cross to Lanka on foot. As Rama drew his bow torch, heaven and earth began to tremble, and darkness enveloped the sky. Celestial winds raged furiously, uprooting gigantic trees and tearing off mountain peaks. Lightning streaked across the sky, and as did hundreds of meteors, while thunder reverberated in all directions. The ocean overflowed its limit by 80 miles, filling all beings with terror. Still, Rama remained unmoved, fixed in his determination. Suddenly, the ocean god rose up from water and appeared before Rama, surrounded by many serpents with flaming hoods. As giant alligators, tortoises, and fish were thrown up by the billowing waves, the ocean's presiding deity stepped onto the shore, followed by the presiding goddesses of such rivers as Ganga and Sindhu. Decorated with a garland of red flowers and golden ornaments, dressed in bright red cloth and encircled by clouds and wind, the ocean personified approached Rama with folded hands, saying, O all pervading Supreme Person, we are dull minded and did not understand who you are. But now we understand that you are the Supreme Person, the Master of the entire universe, the unchanging and original personality of Godhead. The demigods are infatuated with the mode of goodness, the Prajapatis with the mode of passion, and the Lord of Ghosts with the mode of ignorance. But you are the master of all these qualities. O gentle descendant of O gentle descendant of the Raghu dynasty, the earth, water, fire, air, and ether are all eternally imbued with their natural characteristics. As a great reservoir of water, I am by nature unfathomable and impossible to cross. I cannot be otherwise. Oh, Rama, it is for you alone that I will make a special concession enabling you to cross my waters. My lord, you may use my water as you like. Indeed, you may cross it and go to the abode of Ravana, who is the great source of disturbance and crying for the three worlds. He is the son of Vishnu, but is condemned like urine. Please go kill him and thus regain your wife Sita. O great hero, although my water presents no impediment to you going to Lanka, please construct a bridge over it to spread your transcendental fame. Upon seeing this wonderfully uncommon deed of your lordship, all the great heroes and kings in the future will glorify you. If you construct a bridge, I shall make it float by bearing its weight with my energy. Thus, your vast army of monkeys can attack Lanka and you can recover your dear wife Sita. Standing with the Brahmastra, Standing with the Brahmastra, arrow drawn back to its full length, Rama said, "Please tell me where can I release this arrow, for having fixed it upon my bowstring, I am unwilling to withdraw it." The ocean personified replied, "To the north is a holy place known as Drumakulya, where a fierce tribe of sinful thieves called Abhiras now live. Because they drink ocean water there, I have become repulsed by their sinful touch. O my lord, I would be very pleased if you would let your powerful arrow fall there." Rama released his arrow as requested, making it fall at Drumakulya. The arrow pierced through the earth and brought all water from Rasatala gushing up through the crevice, causing the entire subterranean region to dry up. The place where the arrow fell then became known as Marukantara, and Rama gave it the following benediction: "This land will become verdant with fruits, honey, and all varieties of herbs. It will be excellent for raising cows, and those who reside here will have few diseases." The ocean personified then said, "My dear Rama, here is Nala, the son of the celestial engineer and architect Vishwakarma. This powerful monkey is your great devotee. Indeed, he is as talented as his father. He can oversee the construction of your bridge, as I allow it to float upon my waters." The presiding deity of the ocean then disappeared. Nala then came before Rama, and after offering his obeisances, he said, "Forbearance, conciliation, and gifts are wasted upon persons who are ungrateful. I know that Varuna has granted you passage only out of fear of punishment, and not from a sense of gratitude. My lord, long ago my father Vishwakarma awarded my mother the benediction that she would have a son equal to him in all respects. For this reason, I possess all of Vishwakarma's architectural and engineering skills. I am quite capable of building the bridge. Although I have these talents, no one knew of them before, because no one asked me about them. I do not like to speak of my own abilities. May I suggest that the monkeys start gathering the building materials so that the work can begin at once?" Under Rama's direction, millions of monkeys began the construction, and some entered the forests in search of materials. After tearing up great rocks, trees, and entire mountains, they brought them to the shore through the use of mechanical contrivances. Then, as the huge stones and trees were thrown into the ocean, the water splashed high into the sky, creating a magnificent scene as the rocks miraculously floated. The monkeys tied them together with heavy ropes and vines, making sure they were properly placed. While the construction was going on, Vibhishana and his ministers kept guard at the shore. Hanuman also carried large boulders and threw them into the sea. While doing so, he happened to see a squirrel kicking dust into the ocean in an attempt to assist the Supreme Lord. "Move out of the way, or you'll get hurt," Hanuman told the squirrel. "We are carrying huge boulders. What will your little dust accomplish?" As soon as Hanuman said this, Lord Rama appeared and rebuked him, saying, "Why are you saying this? Both the squirrel and you are serving me. Although you are lifting mountain peaks and he is moving small grains of sand, you are both doing your best. I therefore consider your service and his service of equal value." In this way, the bridge was constructed. It was 100 yojanas long and 10 yojanas wide. The surface was made smooth by placing the trunks of the tree against one another. It was then covered with the tops of branches full of blossoming flowers. The demigods and great rishis assembled in the sky to behold the wonderful bridge spanning the deep chimneying ocean. Sugriva then requested Rama and Lakshmana to mount the backs of Hanuman and Angada. Soon thereafter, the entire army, consisting of billions of monkeys, began to march. Upon reaching Suvela mountain at the far shore of Lanka island, the monkeys became thrilled. As Sugriva set up camp, all the great demigods and rishis came and individually bathed the king and the monkeys with water from the sacred rivers, blessing the king to obtain victory. Rama then embraced Lakshmana, saying, "Make certain that the army stays on constant alert, for I perceive evil omens foreboding the destruction of many great heroes among the monkeys, bears, and rakshasas. Indeed, just see how the fierce winds stir up clouds of dust. There are tremors in the earth, and dark clouds are raining blood. The evening twilight is the evening twilight is heavily tinged with red, and the animals crying out pitifully. Oh Lakshmana, I think we should immediately begin our march on the city of Lanka." Thus, at Rama's desire, the army of monkeys departed. As they drew near Lanka, the Rakshasas could hear their loud roaring. While looking at the golden city magnificently perched atop Trikuta mountain, Rama thought only of Sita imprisoned within. Rama then ordered the commanders to arrange the army in a human shaped formation, with himself and Lakshmana at the head. As they approached Lanka, the monkeys took up great trees and mountain peaks while Rama sent orders to Ravana to release Sita or to prepare for death. The monkey chiefs released the Rakshasa messenger in the form of a bird, who immediately went to Ravana. When the Rakshasa king saw how Shuka's wing had been cut off, he laughingly inquired, who has done this? Shuka replied, "I delivered your message to Sugriva, but the monkeys captured me and severely beat me. Then they cut off my wings. It was only due to the mercy of the virtuous Rama that I was released. O king, the army of monkeys has already arrived here to rescue Sita. You must return her to Rama or immediately attack the hordes of monkeys before they swarm over the boundary walls." Ravana angrily replied, "I will never give up Sita. I will kill Rama and all his monkey soldiers. However, I am quite amazed that these monkeys could build a bridge across the ocean. I want you and Sharana to disguise yourselves as monkeys and secretly enter the enemy's ranks to estimate their strength." Shuka and Sarana obediently went to the monkeys' camp, but because of the vastness of the monkey army, now spread throughout the forests, mountains, and along the shore, the two spies could not even begin to estimate the number of soldiers. As they moved along, however, Vibhishana identified them as disguised Rakshasas and captured them, taking them to Rama. Afraid for their lives, Shuka and Sarana stood before Rama with folded hands, pleading, "We have not come here for our own accord. We were sent by Ravana to ascertain the strength of your army." At this, Rama simply laughed and replied, "If you have accomplished your mission, then you can return to Ravana at once. However, if you have not yet completed your observations, then you can continue your tour without fear, guided by Vibhishana. In return for our hospitality, I only request you to deliver this message to Ravana. Accompanied by my army of monkeys, I will destroy Lanka and kill all the Rakshasas." Out of gratitude, Shuka and Sarna offered obeisances unto Rama, saying, "May you be victorious." Then they then returned to Ravana and explained, "We were captured by Vibhishana, but then mercifully released by magnanimous Rama. Due to the army's vastness, it was impossible for us to estimate the extent of it. However, we can assure you that Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva, and Vibhishana can uproot Lanka and carry it away if they so choose, even without the help of the other monkeys. Indeed, we are convinced that Rama could destroy Lanka and all the Rakshasas single handed. We advise you to return Sita to Rama and establish an alliance with him." Ravana replied, "I will never give back Sita, even if all the demigods and demons combine together to attack me. You only speak such rubbish because you're afraid of being tormented by a few monkeys. What have I got to fear?" Ravana climbed to the roof of his palace, accompanied by his two spies, hoping to gain a good view of the enemy. Ravana then asked Sharana to point out the chief monkeys. Sharana showed his masters all the great heroes, including Hanuman, Sugriva, Angada, Nala, Mainda, Vivida, Shweta, Panasa, Vinata, Gavaya, and finally Dhumra, the commander-in-chief of the bears, and his younger brother Jambavan. Sharma also described their physical characteristics and praised their incomparable prowess. The monkey army was so expansive that in order to describe the extent of it, Sharna had to first explain the Vedic system of counting. He explained that 100,000 is 1 lakh, 100 lakhs equals 1 crore, 1 lakh of crores is called Shanku, and 1 lakh of Shankus is called Mahashanku. 1 lakh of Mahashanku is called a Vrinda, and 1 lakh of Vrindas is called Padma, and 1 lakh of Padmas equaling a Mahapadma. 1 lakh of Mahapadmas is called Kharva, and 1 lakh of karvas is called Mahakarva. 1 lakh of Mahakarvas is called Samudra, and 1 lakh of Samudra is an Ogha, and 1 lakh of Oghas is called Mahauga. Sharma then explained that Rama's army of monkeys consisted of at least 100 crores of Mahaugas of soldiers. Seeing Rama, Lakshmana, and the other monkey heroes, Ravana became enraged. As Shuka and Sharanga hung their heads, Ravana chastised them severely. Trying to restrain his anger, he said, "You are supposed to be my ministers, yet you are ignorant of politics and are praising the enemy. Your speech is the most unpalatable. I must be fortunate indeed to have retained my sovereignty for so long, guided by such ignorant fools as you. How can you speak so foolishly? Have you no fear of death? It is only the memory of your past service that keeps me from killing you this instant." Shuka and Sharna became ashamed to hear Ravana chastise them in this way. Hoping to pacify their master, they shouted, "O king, may victory be yours," and then departed. Ravana ordered Mahodra to bring more spies forward. Soon afterward, Sardula and others invited, pronouncing benedictions for Ravana's victory. Ravana ordered the spies to ascertain the enemy's plans. Then the spies circumambulated Ravana and slipped out to where Rama and the monkey soldiers were camped. Although the spies were disguised as monkeys, Vibhishana easily detected them as Rakshasas and arrested them. Then the monkeys surrounded them and beat them severely. However, when their plight came to Rama's attention, he mercifully ordered that they too be set free. Returning to Lanka in stupefied condition, Sardula and his men came before Ravana and reported, "The enemy army of monkeys is now encamped near Suvela mountain. They are incapable of being spied upon." Just moments after just moments after our arrival, we were captured by Vibhishana and then beaten by the monkeys. It is only by the grace of Rama that we were released and able to return with our lives. O king, it appears that Rama is capable of destroying not only Lanka but the entire cosmic manifestation as well. You must either return Sita or immediately be prepared to fight with Rama's army before they reach Lanka's boundary walls. Ravana considered Sardula's words for a half a moment and then declared, "I shall never return Sita under any circumstance." Ravana asked for advice from his assembled ministers. Finally, he retired to his private rooms and called for Vidyujha, a Rakshasa expert in conjuring tricks. Ravana told him, "I want you to create an illusory head of Rama and perfect imitation of his bows and arrows. I'm going now to the Ashoka Grove to see Sita. You should follow me and remain hidden. When I call for you, bring your magical creations." Ravana went to the Ashoka Grove, eager to see Sita. He came before the anguished daughter of King Janaka and announced, "Rama has been slain by my commander in chief. You should give up your stubbornness and become my beloved queen. I will tell you just how it happened." After Rama crossed the ocean, night set in, and being exhausted, Rama, Lakshmana, and the monkey warriors fell asleep on Lanka's shores. Sure, in the darkness, the great Rakshasa heroes went there and began slaughtering them all. Prahasta cut off Rama's head as he soundly slept, and Lakshmana, Hanuman, and the other monkey chiefs were killed as the others fled in fear. "O noble lady, I have brought Rama's severed head here just to convince you that I am telling the truth." Ravana then ordered Rakshasi gods to call for Vidyujihva. Vidyujihva. The magician thus appeared, bearing an illusory head of Rama along with his bow and arrows. Ravana then told Sita, "Look, this is the bloodied head of your husband." Then, turning to Vidyujiva, Ravana said, "Show Sita Rama's severed head. Let her see the remains of her mortal husband." Vidyujiva placed the illusory head at Sita's feet and hastily departed. Ravana then took Rama's illusory bow and arrows and threw them towards Sita, saying, "Submit to me now, for you have no other hope." The illusory severed head had features exactly resembling Rama's. When Sita saw it, she cried out mournfully, "O Kaikeyi, this is the result of your evil plans. Now your cherished goal is fulfilled. You must be very happy." Crying convulsively, Sita fell to the ground like a plantain tree uprooted by a strong wind. Soon she recovered and sat down beside the illusory head, lamenting, "O Rama, without you I have become a widow. My life has come to an end. What greater calamity could befall a woman than the death of her husband before her own demise? Alas, I am most despicable, for it is I who have caused the death of my husband. It is for my sake alone that he crossed the ocean, only to die without even a fight." Little did Rama know that when he married me, he wedded his own death as well. Surely in a previous life, I obstructed the marriage of another girl. Thus, I now suffer in this life. O Rama, have you departed for the next world without me? Sita then said to Ravana, please take me to where the body of Rama is lying. Then, as I place my body upon his, you may kill me so that I may attain the same destination as my husband. Just at that moment, a messenger arrived informing Ravana that Prahasta urgently required his presence in a meeting of ministers. Ravana departed, and as soon as he was gone, the illusory head and bow vanished from Sita's sight. Entering the assembly, Ravana immediately ordered the Rakshas to mobilize for battle. Without further discussion, they began preparations for war. Meanwhile, Vibhishana's wife, Sarama, came to console Sita. Sarama had already befriended her at Ravana's urging, for he did not wish Sita to die prematurely from grief. Sarama said, I was hiding behind a nearby bush and could hear everything Ravana said. I can assure you that Rama is not dead. The head you saw was created by a Rakshasa conjurer's trick. In truth, Rama has arrived at Lanka and with Lakshmana and the army of monkeys. They are now preparing to attack Ravana. That is why Ravana just left here in such an agitated state. He knows that he is unable to defeat Rama and the monkey hero is under his protection. Even from here, I can hear the Rakshasas making preparations. Soon there'll be a great war between two armies. Do not worry, Sita, for Rama will defeat Ravana without a doubt. If you would like to give Rama a message, I can deliver it for you. Sita was greatly relieved to hear Sarama's assurance. She requested, Oh, Sarama, please try to learn what Ravana's plans are. Is he going to fight with Rama or will he return me to Rama? Sarama went out and while remaining hidden overheard Ravana's conversation with his ministers. She returned to Sita and reported, as I listened, many of Ravana's elder ministers advised Ravana to return you to Rama, describing the unlimited prowess of Rama and Lakshmana. Even Ravana's mother urged him to make peace with Rama. Ravana, however, remained adamant. Therefore, I can understand that he will only give you up at the time of death. Even as the meeting was going on, Ravana could hear the sound of conch shells, drums, and other noises from the monkeys. Then Malyavan, Ravana's maternal grandfather, said, a wise king never fights with an enemy who has superior strength. Therefore, I advise you to return Sita to Rama and establish peaceful relations with him. Otherwise, O Ravana, you may rest assured that virtue, having taken form of enemy, will conquer over your evil self. Because you have persecuted the great rishis, the power of their austerity is now aimed at you for your destruction. Furthermore, the benedictions you received from Lord Brahma did not give you immunity from death at the hands of human beings or monkeys. You should carefully consider the dangerous position you are in. My dear grandson, you should heed my advice, for many inauspicious signs have already become visible, indicating the destruction of Lanka. Clouds are pouring down showers of hot blood. Our horses and elephants have tears in their eyes, and carnivorous animals freely enter the gardens of Lanka, crying out ominously. In their dreams, the citizens see black women with yellow teeth plundering their houses and standing before them laughing at them. Dogs are eating the sacrificial offerings, and different species of animals are seen mating with each other. Time personified, appearing in a huge black form with a shaved head, is seen peering into all the houses of Lanka every morning and evening. O Ravana, I consider Rama to be Lord Vishnu himself, appearing in the form of a human being. You must immediately go and surrender to him and rid yourself from this impending calamity. Sarma continued. Ravana could not accept this good advice. Instead, he angrily replied, You are a rascal taking the side of the enemy. You seem very eager to glorify the prowess of Rama, but what do you think of me? You must be praising the enemy because you're envious of me or because you have been won over to the other side. Perhaps you're afraid of him. I can assure you that you will soon witness the death of Rama by my own hands. Malyavan remained for a silent time. Then, after offering his respects to the king, he retired to his quarters. Ravana then made arrangements for Lanka's defense. He posted Prahasta at the eastern gate, Mahaparshva and Mahodara at the southern gate, Indrajit at the western gate, Shuka and Saran himself at the northern gate, and Virupaksha in the city center. Then the king dismissed his ministers and retired to the interior of his palace. As Rama and the monkey army approached Lanka, they discussed how they could best besiege the city. Vibhishna said, along with my ministers Anala, Panasa, Sampati, and Pramati, I took the form of a bird and surveyed the military arrangements of Ravana. We now know how their defenses are laid out. My dear Rama, I am confident that just as Ravana defeated Kuvera by invading Lanka with 60 lakhs of Rakshasas, you too will gain victory with the help of these hordes of monkeys. Rama then ordered, Nila will lead the attack on Prahasta at the eastern gate. Angada and his soldiers will fight against Mahaparsva and Mahodara at the southern gate. Hanuman will lead the attack against Indrajit and the western gate, and Lakshmana and I will contend with Ravana at the northern gate. Sugriva, Jambavan, and Vibhishna will stay in the center of our army to provide assistance wherever needed. I want only 7 of us to fight in the form of human beings. Myself, Lakshmana, and Vibhishna, and his 4 ministers. All the others should retain their monkey forms for that will allow us to remain distinguished from the enemy warriors. The sun was already setting when Rama, Lakshmana, and the monkey leaders climbed to the peak of Suvela mountain to spend the night. From the mountain top, they had a good view of Lanka. Even though darkness had already set in, the city's innumerable twinkling lights made it appear as if it were suspended from the sky. The leaders of Rama's army could also see that the warriors were prepared for the upcoming fight. The next morning, everyone was amazed to see the heavenly city complete with its array of flowering gardens, filled with celestial trees and singing birds. Lanka was beautifully situated on the 11th peak of Trikuta mountain, measuring 100 yojanas by 100 yojanas. The walled city had an area of 20 by 20 yojanas, and in the center stood the magnificent palace of Ravana, supported by 1,000 pillars. While gazing at the city and feeling great appreciation for its magnificence, Rama sighted Ravana perched atop the northern gate with the canopy held over his head, being fanned by his servants. Sugriva ordered numerous monkeys ahead, jumping from mountain top to mountain top to occupy the outer gardens of Lanka. Suddenly he too sighted Ravana. Thus, Sugriva impetuously leaped from the peak of Mount Sivila to where the Rakshasa king was sitting atop the northern gate. Gazing at Ravana with great disdain, Sugriva announced, I am a servant of Lord Rama, and I shall kill you this very day. Sugriva pounced on Ravana, knocking his crown off in the process. The surprised Rakshasa king then grabbed Sugriva and, while uttering similar threats, threw Sugriva to the ground. Sugriva, however, bounced up immediately like a rubber ball and in turn braced Ravana, throwing him to the ground with great force. A fierce wrestling match ensued as the two heroes scratched each other with their nails, covering both with blood and perspiration. After striking each other with their fists and arms and wrestling for a long time, Sugriva and Ravana both fell down from the gate onto the ground in the area between the boundary wall and the moat. Then, jumping onto their feet, the two kings continued fighting, exhibiting all their knowledge in the art of wrestling. At last, when Ravana realized he could not defeat Sugriva with mere physical strength, he called upon his mystic powers. Understanding this, Sugriva decided to abandon the fight. He bounded into the thin air, and immediately returned to where Rama was staying. Sugriva was now feeling blissful at having performed such a heroic feat, and his followers responded by jumping excitedly. Embracing Sugriva in love, Rama mildly chastised him, saying, You have acted foolishly, for you dared to do something without my sanction. Besides this, a king should never take such risks, because the death of the ruler is a great calamity for the entire nation. O Sugriva, if Ravana had killed you, then I certainly would have slain him in retaliation. Then, after installing Vibhishna upon the throne at Lanka and Bharata on the throne at Ayodhya, I would have given up my own life for having allowed you to be killed in my presence. Sugriva replied, After seeing that rascal Ravana, the abductor of Sita, I could not bear to simply ignore him. Rama said, Regardless, you courageously displayed your heroism, and all the monkey soldiers have been inspired by your fearless example. Turning to Lakshmana, Rama said, By observing various omens, I can understand that there will soon be great destruction, a slaughter of the leading monkeys, bears, and Rakshasas. Let us attack Lanka immediately. Rama climbed down from the Suvela mountain to review his army. He then began his march to Lanka, bow in hand, while the monkeys following him uprooted trees and mountain peaks. Soon afterward, they arrived at the city walls, and Rama encamped his army outside the northern gate. Similarly, Nila took up his position outside the eastern gate, Angada at the southern gate, and Hanuman outside the western gate. Sugriva positioned his army in between northern and western gates. Thus, the monkeys completely surrounded the walled city, awaiting the encounter. The Rakshasa warrior were astonished to see a seemingly unlimited number of monkeys surrounding their city. With weapons in hands, The leader fearfully rushed to Ravana's palace to inform Ravana how the monkeys were sieging the city. Ravana quickly went to a balcony to personally survey the situation. Seeing how the entire earth around Lanka had become brown, covered by multitudes of monkeys, the Rakshasa king was struck with wonder. For a long time, Ravana stood motionless, staring at Rama, wondering what he should do next. Rama then ordered Angada to deliver a message to Ravana. Leaping into the air, Angada quickly came before Ravana, who was sitting atop the northern gate, surrounded by his ministers. Staying at a slight distance from Ravana, Angada announced, "My name is Angada, the nephew of the king Sugriva, and heir apparent to the royal throne at Kishkindia. I have come here as Rama's envoy with this message. O king of the Rakshasas, now that all of your pious credits have been exhausted, I am going to kill you in retaliation for your atrocities against the rishis. If you do not surrender to me at once, then I shall rid the entire world of Rakshasas. Either submit to me or come before me so that I can purify you with the onslaught of my deadly arrows. If you're unwilling to return Sita and bow down before me, then I advise you take a good look at Lanka, for it'll be your last." Inflamed with rage, Ravana ordered his ministers to kill Angada. Angada allowed four Rakshasas to seize him, for he desired to show off his prowess. Then he suddenly jumped to the top Ravana's palace, carrying aloft the four Rakshasas clutching at his arms. The force of Angada's leap shook the Rakshasas loose, and they plummeted to the ground at Ravana's feet. Angada then violently kicked the roof of Ravana's palace, dome, causing the top dome to crumble while Ravana looked on helplessly. Having thus vexed the Rakshasa king, Angada let out a loud roar and returned to Rama. Witnessing Angada's prowess, Ravana foresaw his own destruction and began sighing repeatedly. Once again, Rama thought of Sita and thus commanded his army, "Make short work of the Rakshasas." The monkeys shouted in unison, "All victory to Rama and Lakshmana," causing Lanka to resound with their vibration. The monkeys then began scaling the defensive walls and breaking them down with trees and boulders. Ravana then ordered his troops to advance quickly, and in this way, the fierce conflict began amidst a terrible roaring sound. The Rakshasas struck the monkeys with their clubs and other weapons, and the monkeys countered by using trees, stones, and their claws and teeth. The monkeys did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with sophisticated weapons, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. Stationed atop Lanka's defensive walls, the Rakshasas pierced numerous monkeys with their weapons, while other monkeys leapt up and dragged the Rakshasas down to the ground, causing the earth to become a mire of flesh and blood. As Anuman fought with Jambumali, Angada with Indrajit, Nila with Nikumba, and Sugriva with Praghasa, rivers of blood created by the massacre carried away the slain warriors. Indrajit struck Angada with his mace, but the monkey prince deftly grabbed it out of Rakshasa's hands and smashed it against his chariot. Jambumali pierced Hanuman with a spear, but then the son of Vayu jumped into the Rakshasa's chariot and killed him with a violent slap. Nikumba pierced Nila with numerous arrows, but the monkey hero still managed to cut off the Rakshasa's head using a wheel from his broken chariot. Rama, Sugriva, and Nala killed numerous other Rakshasas, and the heroic army of monkeys inflicted heavy losses upon the enemy. During the fierce battle, headless trunks of Rakshasas and monkeys alike were seen darting here and there, adding to the ghastliness of the battle scene. As night finally fell, the monkeys questioned those around them, asking, "Are you a monkey?" When someone was found to be an enemy, the monkeys attacked him with deadly enthusiasm. Throughout the fighting, both sides suffered heavy losses. Although the Rakshasas were more visible because of their golden armor, it was their nature to become enlivened at night. Thus, the hordes of Rakshasas suddenly attacked Rama in the darkness with great enthusiasm, their loud roaring creating a tumultuous sound. With the giant monkey, Golangula supporting him on one side and Jambavan's brother Dumra on the other, Rama pierced Mahaparshva, Mahodara, Shuka, Sarna, and two other Rakshasas with six golden arrows that brightly lit up the night. Then, as those six Rakshasas fled for their lives, Angada smashed Indrajit's chariot and killed his driver. Indrajit, who was also injured, abandoned his disabled chariot and vanished from view while the demigods and rishis praised the monkey prince from their positions in the sky. Remaining invisible in the sky, the enraged Indrajit showered down arrows that took the form of serpents. Because of benediction from Lord Brahma, the snake arrows immediately bound Rama and Lakshmana very tightly. Unable to move because of Indrajit's serpent arrows, Rama and Lakshmana dispatched 10 of foremost monkeys headed by Angada, Neela and Hanuman to search out Indrajit. However, as the monkeys sprang into the air, exploring in all directions, the invisible Indrajit pierced them with innumerable arrows. At the same time, he showered Rama and Lakshmana with so many arrows that blood flowed profusely from wounds that completely covered their bodies. Indrajit announced, "Oh, Rama and Lakshmana, even Indra cannot see me. What to speak of others? Now it'll be my great pleasure to dispatch you both to the abode of Yamaraja with my unceasing torrents of sharp arrows." As Indrajit continued to assault Rama and Lakshmana, they became covered with wounds. There was not a single space large enough to place a finger where the arrows had not pierced him. Finally, Rama's bow fell from his hands and he fell to the ground, covered in his own blood. Lakshmana too swooned away, giving up all hope of survival. Seeing this terrible sight, the monkeys became despondent, with tears in their eyes. As the leaders of the monkeys came to surround Rama and Lakshmana, Indrajit proclaimed to his followers, "The two mighty brothers have fallen victim to my magical snake arrows, imbued with the power of Lord Brahma. Not even Indra and all the demigods could save Rama and Lakshmana now." The enlivened Rakshasas then shouted, "Rama is dead! Indrajit has killed him single handed." Convinced that Rama and Lakshmana were now dead, Indrajit departed for the palace of Rama, intoxicated by his apparent victory. Sugriva and Vibhishana then came to the spot where Rama and Lakshmana lay motionless. They were bathed in their own blood and barely breathed. Sugriva was especially pained to see the two brothers completely enmeshed in the serpentine arrows that covered them, and Vibhishana took special care to comfort him. While washing the tears from Sugriva's eyes, he said, "Oh king, I know that Rama and Lakshmana can be revived. Rest assured, for they will not die. Please guard Rama carefully while I rally the army and restore the monkeys to confidence." As the foremost monkeys guarded Rama and Lakshmana, Indrajit went to Ravana and proudly reported the news of his apparent victory. When Ravana heard that Rama and Lakshmana were slain, he jumped onto his feet and lovingly embraced his son, saying, "My dear boy, how did you accomplish this most difficult feat? Tell me everything." Indrajit replied, "While remaining invisible in the sky, I first bound up Rama and Lakshmana with my serpentine arrows. Then I riddled them with the countless sharp arrows. They are now lying lifeless on the ground, and the monkey warriors are giving up the fight out of hopelessness." Considering Rama and Lakshmana to be dead, Ravana gave all fear and anxiety. After dismissing Indrajit, he called for the Rakshashis who guarded Sita. Confident that Sita would now submit to him, Ravana joyfully said, "Rama and Lakshmana have been slain by my incomparable son Indrajit. I want you to immediately convey this news to Sita. Take her on the Pushpaka chariot so that she may see for herself how her husband is slain on the battlefield." After dismissing the Rakshasis, Ravana ordered the news of Indrajit's victory to be broadcast all over Lanka for the pleasure of the citizens. When the Rakshasis informed Sita of Rama's death, she immediately fell to the ground. She was sobbing uncontrollably, completely overcome by shock and grief. The Rakshasis helped her onto the Pushpaka chariot along with their leader Trijata, and within a moment they rose up high into the air. While flying over the battlefield, Sita could see many slain monkeys and Rakshasas. Then she suddenly beheld Rama and Lakshmana lying on the ground, surrounded by grieving monkeys. As Sita heard the Rakshasas rejoicing, she gazed upon Rama's arrow-riddled body, his bow lying beside him, and was unable to contain her grief. Wailing loudly, Sita began lamenting. Formerly learned Brahmanas, masters of astrology and palmistry, all assured me, "O fortunate princess, you will bear sons and never suffer for becoming a widow. In the future, you will become the queen of an illustrious king who will perform many great sacrifices. Now that Rama is dead, I can understand that they are all cheaters and liars." The Brahmanas assured me of my good fortune, describing my auspicious bodily features. They told me, "O princess, you have fine dark hair, and your eyebrows are curved and separated. Your closely set teeth are even, and your rosy fingers and toes have no space in between them. Your thighs are rounded, shapely and hairless, and your ample breasts touch each other. Your navel is deep, your skin is soft, and your complexion is fair and brilliant. All of your toes touch the ground as you walk, and the soles of your feet are marked with the auspicious signs of the lotus flower, indicating an exalted royal birth. Combined with your lotus petal eyes and gentle smile, all these symptoms indicate that the highest good fortune awaits you." Sita cried, Of what use are these auspicious marks now that my husband is dead? Without Rama, my good fortune has ended. Srijata then approached Sita, saying, "O princess, you may rest assured that Rama and Lakshmana are not dead, for the celestial chariot will not carry a widow. Look below, for even though the monkeys are in a state of confusion, they continue to guard Rama and Lakshmana. What would be the necessity of guarding them if they were dead? Even from here, I can see that luster remains in the faces of Rama and Lakshmana. Therefore, Sita, do not give way to unnecessary grief. Unnecessary grief. It is certain that your husband is still alive." Sita was slightly encouraged by Trijata's words and was then escorted back to the Ashoka Grove. Regardless, while thinking of her husband's desperate condition, Sita soon gave way to grief and despair. In the midst of the grief-stricken monkeys, Rama returned to consciousness. Upon seeing Lakshmana lying at his side, smeared with blood and without any sign of life, Rama explained with anguish, "Even if I succeed in recovering Sita, the entire endeavor will be useless if Lakshmana dies. Even if it were possible to somehow find a consort to replace the daughter of Janaka, I could never find another friend such as Lakshmana. If Lakshmana dies, I too will give up my life, for I cannot bear to think of returning to Ayodhya without him. How could I ever face his mother after allowing him to die on the battlefield in my presence?" Turning to Sugriva, Rama said, "The monkey warriors should now retreat, for without Lakshmana and myself to protect them, they'll be highly vulnerable. O noble king of the monkeys, please accept my unlimited gratitude for the sincere friendship and valor that you and your army have displayed, risking your lives in my service." All the monkeys began to cry upon hearing Rama's sweet words. Vibhishna then returned, having restored the monkey army's confidence. When Vibhishna saw how Rama and Lakshmana looked just like porcupines lying upon a bed of arrows, he immediately broke down and cried. Sugriva then embraced him, saying, "You should not doubt that Rama and Lakshmana will soon recover and go on to defeat Ravana defeat Ravana in the battle." Sugriva then went to his father-in-law Susena, saying, "Please arrange for Rama and Lakshmana to be taken to Kishkindia, where they can safely recover from their wounds. Let all the monkeys accompany them, while I remain here alone. After defeating Ravana single-handed, I will return to Kishkindia with Sita." Sushena replied, "Long, long ago, when there was a great war between the demigods and the demons were able to kill many of the celestials with their mystical illusions. Brihaspati, however, revived all the slain demigods by using mantras and special medicinal herbs. I suggest that Panasa and Sampati go to the ocean of milk, for they are familiar with these herbs known as Sanjeevana Karani and Vishalya. Created by Lord Brahma himself, Sanjeeva Karani can revive a person who's practically dead. Likewise, Vishalya instantly cures all the wounds created by arrows. These herbs can be found on the Chandra and Drona mountains, which rose in the middle of the milk ocean as it was being churned to produce nectar. It is best for Hanuman to go, for he can make the journey in the shortest time." As Sushena spoke, a fierce wind began to blow, bringing dense clouds and streaks of lightning. The sea became agitated with high swelling waves. The mountains began to tremble, and the tall trees were knocked down. Everyone looked around, wondering why this was happening, and saw that the disturbances were caused by the flight of a gigantic bird coming towards them. It was Garuda, the eagle carrier of Lord Vishnu. Upon seeing him, the snake arrows binding Rama and Lakshmana immediately fled. Garuda then came and wiped Rama and Lakshmana's faces with his hands. By his touch alone, their bodies began to shine and became redoubled in strength. Garuda picked Rama up lovingly and lovingly embraced him. In great happiness, Rama said, "We are both eternally indebted to you. If you consider us worthy, please reveal your identity to us." The gigantic bird replied, "I am your eternal servant, Garuda, the son of Vinata. All the demigods headed by Indra could not have raised you from the bondage of Indrajit's snake arrows. These snakes are the sons of Kadru and were converted into arrows by the mystic power Indrajit received from Lord Brahma. I came here just to chase them away, for snakes are my natural food and they are always afraid of me. My dear Lord, you should be very careful while fighting with the Rakshasas. They are very tricky, whereas heroes like yourself are always straightforward. I now wish to take my leave. Before I depart, let me assure you that you shall be victorious and get back your beloved Sita." Garuda then circumambulated Rama and, after embracing him again, soared into the sky. Seeing that Rama and Lakshmana had recovered from their wounds, the monkeys jumped for joy. In their ecstasy, they beat drums, lashed their tails, and roared like lions, thus creating a great tumult. Then, after taking up trees and great boulders, they again prepared to continue the fight. Hearing the joyful roaring of the monkeys, Ravana suspected that Rama and Lakshmana had revived. To make sure, he ordered his Rakshasas to investigate the reason for the monkeys' bravado. After climbing onto the defensive walls, the Rakshasas saw that Rama and Lakshmana were alive and well. With great fear, they rushed to give Ravana the news. His doubts thus confirmed, Ravana again became filled with anxiety, and his face turned pale. Swelling with rage, he ordered that the great Rakshasa warrior Dhumraksha, Dhumraksha to go immediately and attack Rama. After quickly mobilizing his army, Dhumraksha mounted his donkey drawn chariot. Laughing robustly and exhibiting great pride, he headed for the western gate, where Hanuman had taken his stand. As Dhumraksha rode through the streets of Lanka, a great vulture landed on the back of his chariot while other carnivorous birds perched upon his flagpole. Suddenly, someone threw a headless trunk in his path, and clouds began pouring down rain mixed with blood. Dhumraksha became greatly perturbed at these ominous signs, and some Rakshasa soldiers even fainted. Still, Dhumraksha courageously approached the monkey warriors who were all eager for combat. A fierce battle ensued, and many Rakshasas and monkeys were killed. The monkeys smashed the Rakshasas with huge rocks and trees and tore them with their sharp teeth and nails. Finally, because of monkeys' superior prowess, the Rakshasa army panicked and fled. At this, Dhumraksha became filled with rage and began to ravage the monkey warriors so severely that they too began fleeing in terror. Hanuman became enraged. He picked up a huge rock and hurled it at Dhumraksha's chariot, smashing it into pieces. Then, Rakshasa hero saved himself by jumping to the ground while Hanuman continued on his rampage. Taking a mountain peak, Hanuman rushed at Dhumraksha. And the Rakshasa also came forward to meet Hanuman, deftly smashing him on the head with his club. But Hanuman hardly minded the blow. He hurled the mountain peak at Dhumraksha's head. The peak shattered the Rakshasa's limbs, and he fell down dead. So this is where I will be stopping at the death of the Rakshasa Dhumraksha. I would like to thank Gandharvika Mataji for giving me this opportunity to be a part of online Ramayana reading session. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Oh wow, you finished half an hour early. Really? What's the page
Hare
number
Krishna
you said?
Mataji. She's Gandharvika Mataji, she's catching up on the backlog. Thank you, Lekha Mataji, for the
Thank you.
animated.
Thank you, Shraddha Mataji. Thank you, Gandharvika Mataji.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you so much for reading. Which page number did you say, Lekha?
Yeah, so in my book it's 382. So my book has a cover like this. So I think we have for different books it's like different page, but mine is at page number 382. This edition is it's I can read the edition number if you want.
I think the print must be big for this one, right, Gandharvika Mataji?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so, Mataji.
That's
Yeah.
good.
yeah, this is the
Looks
full
like,
print, 2017 print.
What was the last
ah,
paragraph?
Yeah, the
Repeat.
last paragraph was at this, Dhumraksha became filled with rage and began to ravage the monkey warriors so severely. It's the one. And the ending of the paragraph is where the Rakshasa is dead.
Hmm. I'm trying to locate that.
Hmm. So I think this should be like 2 pages before or after in your version. I think your version and Advait's version are the same. Um,
Yes, yes, yes. Ours is the same. Yes.
hmm.
382 you said, right?
Yeah,
Oh, what was that? Doom Raksha?
became filled with, at this, Dhumraksha became filled
At
with
this
rage.
is the beginning of the paragraph.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sure. Means I will hear the recording and then figure it out where it is actually because I'm unable to locate it.
Okay, okay.
So, dear devotees, thank you all for joining and thanks so much for Lekha. And we will continue tomorrow.